My name is Jennifer Coleman. I am the director of the Student Success Suite at the CCC Technology Center. And we are going to record this session for distribution. It will take about a week because right now we are only able to offer auto captioning and not live captioning. So for those of you who require the captions, they will be included with the recording. It will take an extra couple of days beyond what we normally have for turnaround for our webinars, but we will have that made available to anyone who registered. And I encourage the use of the chat for questions as we go through the presentation. And we hope to get all of your questions answered. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with the agenda here. And we will talk a little bit about what the Student Success Suite is. So this is a new term that we've been using within the Technology Center to describe our products. We'll talk about that. Then I'm going to turn it over to Beth Knowles. She's our rockstar implementation specialist for MyPath, and she's going to talk about customized CMS portlets in MyPath, how to use it for transfer and graduation enhancements and requirements, and how one college is guiding students back to campus by leveraging some of the capabilities of MyPath. Then we'll hear from our college relationship manager, Warren Whitmore, who will talk about how to get additional support to incorporate some of these enhancements into your current or future iteration of MyPath. And then we'll make sure that all of the questions that you all have been answered. So a couple of things additionally to get started. Our representative from Coastline had a family emergency and was not able to present. So Beth is going to cover Coastline's enhancements as well as a few others. So we thank Coastline for committing and wish their staff member the best as she navigates some challenges. So we will hear from Beth and hear all about what Coastline has done. And so I'll go ahead and get started. We'll talk a little bit about the Student Success Suite. So the Student Success Suite incorporates all of our student-facing products that are supported and developed and created by the Technology Center with feedback from all of you, of course. We have our OpenCCC system-wide account. That's where students are assigned a CCC ID, and that identifier follows them through as they may swirl to different colleges throughout the system. Then we have CCC Apply. That's our suite of applications, including standard, non-credit, the California College Promise Grant, which was formerly called the BOG Fee Waiver, and our international application. And then CCC MyPath, which we'll talk most about today, which my favorite quote from a counselor is the CCC MyPath is the answer to the question from students. I fill out the application, what do I do next? And MyPath delivers that up so that a counselor can focus on those harder questions and the more in-depth conversations and tasks. So our current MyPath stats, MyPath has been adopted by 64 colleges as of this month, and they are in various stages of adoption. Many of them are live with MyPath. We have a couple who've recently decided to go live and are working through the implementation phase. And we have some colleges who've been online for quite a while with MyPath, and now they're looking at other ways to utilize the system to support their students. To date, this fiscal year, we have over 360,000 student advisor cards that have been completed. These are complete, meaning all the tasks have been completed on them. And I like to look at this as 360,000 tasks that our counseling staff and student services staff who are overburdened with not enough resources most of the time didn't have to have those hands-on conversations and help the students navigate those easier to accomplish tasks. So again, allowing them to focus on the harder questions, the more in-depth conversations. Since the launch of MyPath, we've had over 1.5 million tasks completed. So we are looking at this tool as a great way to assist colleges in helping their students meet their requirements for onboarding and ultimately reach their goals. We are supporting users, both our college staff users and our student users, by leveraging continuous improvement to our systems driven by user feedback. We have student-centered feedback. We hear from our students on a regular basis. We have staff and faculty input, and all of this goes into our tools. And the integration of the three tools into the Student Success Suite is really in response to some of that feedback, where many of our users experience the Student Success Suite as a singular use case and experience And so we want to be able to refer to them and manage them in such a way as well, so that we're not thinking of them in silos. So going forward, you'll see Student Success Suite referred to regularly. And we have a big release coming up, the largest one we've ever attempted at the Technology Center. And that will be in fall. And it will be a release of all of our Student Success Suite products at the same time. The opportunities to provide feedback are done through our user groups and subcommittees primarily, but also through our vanilla forums community that you see the picture of there, which is ccctechnology.info, and through our end user pilot testing as we move towards release. So our user groups and subcommittees meet on a quarterly basis. And if you're interested, the contact information for that, we can post that in the chat so that you can get engaged if you're not already. So we encourage participation in these methods for providing feedback. We also welcome it as a simple email or phone call out to our team to make sure that we have ideas from our colleges and input into what helps you all the most as you help students. I'm going to turn it over to Beth Knowles now, and I'm going to stop my share and let Beth start hers. Beth, as I mentioned, is one of our implementation specialists, and she assists colleges with getting online with MyPath and is going to talk about how colleges are leveraging it these days to benefit their students. So Beth, I'm going to turn it over to you and take it away.
All righty, one moment here. Let me get my screen shared.
If you all want to post questions in the chat, then we'll answer them as we go. And then at the end, we'll make sure that everything got answered.
All righty, I'm going into presentation mode here now. And this is just a basic overview of how MyPath works to help folks who might not have had exposure to MyPath understand a little bit how the pieces come together so we can present customized prescriptive advisor cards to students. I'm going to go ahead and change this to, oh good, it's on high quality. Alrighty, that was that one. Let me move on to the next and go into presentation mode. One thing that MyPath has the capability to do is to allow you to publish miniature web pages that live within MyPath. And these are helpful for a number of reasons. Maybe there's a web page that is on the backlog with your webmaster, but it hasn't been designed yet because the webmaster has a lot of work to do. So what we could do is collaborate with you to create a little miniature web page that lives within MyPath that highlights a service for a student, or perhaps you want some additional instructions and illustrations to aid students in performing a particular task, or maybe you just want to augment some information that currently isn't in existence on an existing web page. So customized CMS portlets can be used for a variety of things. There's my tool. So what we have here is a little Wysiwyg Editor. This lives within MyPath, and you've got a number of different capabilities here. You can use a little template by using this little button here, or you can go ahead and type in information. You have a choice with different styles you can use, text size, text color, add pictures, add links, all sorts of different things. This is exactly what we did for Compton College. They wanted to highlight their formerly incarcerated student transition program, their FIST program, and we used this little Wysiwyg Editor to do just that. This is what it looks like. Student clicks on the FIST program, and they learn a little bit of information, reading the description, and then click on the link. And what they're able to see is all of this customized web page information that we put in that Wysiwyg Editor. So we've got links to a couple of different student success stories, some information that highlights what a student experienced and overcame, like Ted Summers here. And then farther on down, there's a little bit of information about the details of the FIST program. This is what Coastline College did. They wanted to give their students or prospective students a leg up to understand what they needed to do to complete the application. They came to realize that students were abandoning the application. So here's what we came up with their collaborative information. We have the student click on the Getting Started card. And before you apply, check this out. So we give them some basic information here so they understand just what they need to have ready when they complete the application. We noticed that some things that students were struggling with was realizing that they had to have their grades for their highest level of math and English classes. So we gave them a little bit of information that would help them understand what they need to have ready. Information about military. And some information about foster care. For transfer and graduation enhancements, we could use MyPath to allow students to upload documents that could aid in completing their requirements for either transfer or graduation. Maybe they could upload their high school or college unofficial transcripts. Veterans can upload their DD-214s and other forms that they might have to have ready in order to transfer or graduate. With MyPath, each document that's uploaded has a little tag assigned to it. It also has the student's CCC ID, but that little tag basically categorizes documents so you're able to, from the school perspective, keep documents straight for each one of your students. You can also search for documents by student name or by document category, like DD-214, for example. You don't necessarily have to use just the student's CCC ID. So this is how a student uploads a document. I'm going to go ahead and change this to
Watch how a student uploads a document. This is a veteran student. We'll upload the DD-214 document.
So it's just that simple.
Is in the process of uploading, and a virus scan is being complete. We'll see in our class until the virus scan checking is complete, and then this will change to a checkbox. If I noted my cell phone in the application, I'd get a text message too. We see a visual indicator that document has been uploaded to this step. Watch how a student uploads a document.
All right, so from the school perspective, you will have access to Amazon Workdocs, and your documents will be stored student by their CCC ID. And the reason why we use the CCC ID is because, well, students' names change. They get married, they get divorced, but the CCC ID remains the same for a student. So each one of these folders might have 3, 4, maybe just one document. Maybe they might have 20. It all depends on just what you've set up in MyPath to enable students to upload their documents. Let's see what it looks like from the school perspective.
From a school's perspective, a school will log into Amazon Workdocs. They'll see the folder for their school's MIS code, and within that folder, they'll see different student CCC IDs. Each one of these folders is for a particular student, and it's listed by CCC ID. This is the student who just uploaded their DD-214 a few minutes ago. Let's go ahead and click on the folder. And we'll see evidence of some documents that the student has uploaded, including this one just uploaded today, their DD-214. Now your staff person will be able to take a look at this student's DD-214.
Hey, Mommy, you're funny.
Additional actions are necessary. Let's say you wanted to take a look for all DD-214 for a variety of students. You can use this search box to accomplish that. Now, because I have access to a number of different schools, I'm going to see a lot of different documents for different schools. This is the MIS code indicator. This is the one that we just uploaded, though, is that test student. Let's say I instead wanted to look for students by name. To find a number of students named John who uploaded different documents. But we're going to go back to the DD-214 search and take one more look at that document that that veteran student just uploaded.
One thing that Antelope Valley has recently decided they want to do is they want to see if they can increase the level of students who left college for whatever reason, COVID or some other reason, and try to entice them to return to school. So how can we do that? Well, there are a couple of mechanics that we probably have to put in place to try to figure out just what kind of students we want to contact. Maybe we want to contact students who haven't attended in the last few terms. All right, so we've got that information, but it might be that in your student information system, maybe the only email address that you have is their school email address. Well, that's not going to really help much because they're probably not going to be checking that email box looking for updated information. They might, but they might not. But what we could do is we could instead take a look at information from CCC Apply stored in the report center to look for the email address the student used when they first submitted their application. This is before their school email address was even created yet. Once we pulled together that information, we could have the elements to go ahead and launch an outreach campaign. So let's say that we go ahead and send emails to students who have recently stopped attending. And if we're using the example of Antelope Valley, what we'll put in that email is a link to this Best of Both Worlds webpage. Let's take a look.
Now they're presented with a couple of choices. They can watch this short video, and this student talks a little bit about the difference between applying now or thinking about applying. For those students who haven't yet decided whether or not they want to attend Antelope Valley, what they can do is go ahead and click on thinking about applying. The first thing they'll have to do is create their account, but that takes a couple of minutes. I've already created one for Ben Arden. I'm going to sign in as this student. Now I haven't completed my application. Now what Ben can do is scope out these different advisor cards, even though he hasn't yet applied. So maybe he is thinking about returning. Well, he owes it to himself to take a look. So reasons to return to college. Here's 51 reasons why you should. Some interesting information here. How does free sound? At ABC, we offer free or low-cost software for students, so that can be an enticement. Learn information about it here. And finally, meet with the counselor. Now, this has not yet been moved live. Angelo Belli is still discussing this, and they might come up with some additional enticements they might want to add to this advisor guide. But this is a possibility that your schools might be able to use to get those students back into the classroom. Let's take a look at Explore and Apply. And let's take a look at Explore Careers. This will give students access to the ONET interest profile. If a student takes a look at this, details on your program choices, here are a whole bunch of program sheets. This is white gold. Let's take a look at one. Business Information Professional. Look at this. It maps out term by term what classes you should take. How great is this? This is like a step-by-step roadmap to get you on your way. Now they're presented with.
All right, there's something else that's worth talking about. Some schools have already implemented MyPath. Maybe they've been using MyPath for 6 months, a year, maybe more than a year. Continuous improvement might mean that you want to streamline your workflows, or perhaps you already have. And MyPath can capitalize on this, guiding your students in a more decisive process. Performing analysis on MyPath usage reports might also reveal the need to spruce up or modify some of your existing MyPath cards or workflows, or perhaps add some new advisor cards. Further discussion and analysis can also result in applying some really meaningful upgrades to MyPath to aid your students in understanding and meeting the requirements, hopefully increase enrollment and augment students' success. At that point, I'll go ahead and turn it back on over to other folks.
Actually, we have a few questions.
Okay.
Couple things. One, we had, it's mostly about the outreach component. So for students who apply but don't register, how can we get them into MyPath and help them get more information? So the way that MyPath is typically set up, once a student completes their application, they are directed to MyPath. If they time out and don't enroll, then that is another population that, just as Beth demonstrated, you can run an in-progress application report from the report center if they have not completed their application. Otherwise, you can pull the CCC IDs from those who have applied, but you don't have in your registration system. So there is some work locally to make that distinction. Because we don't have enrollment data within our systems, they're in the local college systems, there would have to be some analysis done to get that specific group of students. But then you could do targeted outreach in the same way that Beth has outlined here for students who have dropped out for a couple of terms and are working to be brought back. There's also a question, Beth, Louisa wants to know, can we hear more about how much work an outreach implementation requires? So the type of work to set up the model that Antelope Valley has in place. Can you talk a little bit about what that looks like?
Sure. It seems to me that because we're talking about pulling information from maybe 2 different systems, a first step is to identify whether or not in your student information system, if you just have the student's school email address at Southwestern, or maybe there's a spot in the student record within your student information system where it's got more than one email address, like the email address they used when they first submitted their application. All right, so that's step one. You've got to figure out just what is stored in the student record. Let's say in the student record at Southwestern, all you have is the student's southwestern.edu email address. Well, you're going to need more than that if they've dropped out, because you want to reach out to them, certainly not at their school email address. All right, so what do you use? You'll go ahead and capture their student CCC ID, doing a query in your student information system. All right, you've got that done. Let's say you save it as a saved list, common term for query making. Then what you can do is access Report Center and look for students that submitted an application 2 or 3 terms ago. So let's say 2 terms ago, you have 150 students who submitted an application. And of those 150 students, you take a look at your saved list and you notice that there are 25 students in that saved list that are also in the list of the students that submitted their application 2 terms ago. Those are the students that you want to focus on, because those are the students that you want to do an outreach to. So yeah, it's going to take a little bit of finagling, possibly, between 2 different systems to come up with the list of students that you're going to use for the outreach campaign. But we can work with you on this to achieve that goal. All right, I see a note here. How do we access the Report Center? That's something that we can take offline and give you a quick demonstration on, to give you more detail on how to get there. How does that sound?
At the end of the deck, there's an email address that you can send an email to look at access to the Report Center. So every college does have access already and has assigned users. So sometimes it's a matter of finding out who your administrator is locally and getting that access. And the other thing I wanted to mention is, beyond the CCC Apply Report Center, we also have the data warehouse. And so researchers have access to the data warehouse data for your college. Your local research team would have that access. And so that is another source of data as well in terms of potential outreach information. Henry's question, after account creation, does it direct the user to complete their application? I saw that after account creation, it congratulates the user, but doesn't direct them to fill out the application next. So right now, if you complete your OpenCCC account, it says success, you've now got an account, now complete your application. So it does direct them to that next step. We are working on enhancing and simplifying some of that language and direction with our upcoming release of OpenCCC 2.0, which we'll talk a little bit about. But right now, some of our students and some of our feedback we've received is that they think that they've completed the application by setting up their account. And so we're trying to be really clear that what they've done is the first step in the application process, and now they need to complete the rest of it. So we are working on it. It does give them instruction to do so now, but we're trying to get some feedback from our students to find out what the best way to direct them to the next steps are in that process, so they realize that it's not just a couple of easy demographic types of questions that get them through the full application. We are also working on some revisions to our student workflows in general to try and make sure that we are determining the type of student that we are hearing from at the point of account creation and application. For example, we have a subcommittee focused on dual enrollment right now. Many of our dual enrollment students our dual enrollment student population is growing across the system. And for those students, they don't need to complete as many questions for CCC Apply. There are not as many required questions, but we are working on how best to alter some workflows so they don't see all of the questions that are not required of them. So we're simplifying some of our workflows, and we're working on that for our next fiscal year goals so that we can serve our dual enrollment students, our rising scholars, formerly incarcerated and incarcerated students. And a lot of this is modeled after our non-credit workflow as well. So we do have some changes coming in terms of how students identify within the systems and get the right questions presented to them so that we can keep the application process as streamlined as possible for each of those groups and get the information out to all of you at the colleges as quickly as possible through the process. So that's something that we're looking at for next fiscal year. Now we're going to hear from Warren Whitmore. He's our college relationship manager. I don't see any additional questions in the chat, but please feel free to ask them as we go through this. Warren, do you want me to share my screen?
Yeah, I only have a couple slides, so I think that'll be best.
Let's see here. There we go. Okay, so you should see get hands-on help with enhancements. Is that what you're seeing?
Yep.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Jennifer. So the first thing that we want to do is acknowledge that each of you, whether you're in A&R, IT, student services, you all have a lot on your plate. There are a lot of demands. And so the idea of either starting to implement MyPath or revisiting your MyPath implementation and enhancing that can be daunting as it's added to your task list. And so what we want to do is just set the expectation here that we as a tech center, and specifically Beth Knowles and our colleagues Ramya and other implementation engineers are here to help you. There's a lot of it that we can do remotely. Generally, the lift on the college side splits into two categories. One is that the IT folks have just a little bit of work in terms of tasks, helping us to connect into your system and having MyPath present as you want it to. And then the other part is for the student services folks to really talk about implementing MyPath and how they want it to display to the students, or now reviewing an existing implementation and determining how they can enhance that and extend it beyond that initial implementation. So we are here to help. We're also here as a great resource if you have questions or ideas. As you've seen, Beth is a wealth of knowledge. We can connect you to other colleges who are already implementing MyPath and might have something similar to you, or some suggestions for how you can either streamline the process or maximize the exposure to your students. So please contact us. We're here as a resource for you. I lead the CRM team, which is the College Relationship Manager team. Jennifer, if you'll click to the next one, there's three of us, Monica Matuzik, myself, and Monica Zalakit. We have split up the 116 colleges among us. And if you're not sure who your CRM is, there's a general email there at the bottom that you can write to, and it will reach all three of us and we'll respond very quickly. Please look at us as your point of contact for the Tech Center for any questions, whether it's about MyPath, CCC, Apply, any of the services that we offer, like the Security Center or the Accessibility Center. If we don't have the answer, we'll definitely point you in the direction of the person that does. But we would like to be that single source for you so that you're not worrying about multiple emails or multiple contacts. We'd like to ease that whole process for you. So again, any questions, feel free to reach out to Monica, or myself, and we will be happy to help you. And just think of the Tech Center as a deep resource that has worked with many of the colleges in the system on even any of these products or services, and we can be a great resource for you. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Warren. I do want to point out that we are, or actually let you all know that we are moving towards a model where we have, beyond our monthly webinar series, we have regular training. And so things like the CCC Apply Report Center, the administrator side of CCC Apply, MyPath, how to set up some of these customized pages and advisor cards. So all of that is coming in the next fiscal year. We want to make sure that all of you as our customers, our administrative side customers, have the resources that you need to not only get the tools established, but to, in the vein of our, I call it the domino effect, where hirings happen and retirements and staff members move in and out and up. And we want to make sure that we are allowing for ongoing training and resourcing so that you don't have to figure that out locally and do internal trainings that take up precious time and resources. So we will have a series of trainings that we will be offering and trying to make sure that you have all the resources that you need to implement all of these tools and that they are effective for your college locally. So watch for those coming next fiscal year. I want to touch a little bit on our upcoming release. This is repetitive for some of you who've been on some of our other webinars, but we want to make sure that everyone knows what's coming with regards to our fall release impacting the Student Success Suite. So the big thing is our new student account creation process. OpenCCC 2.0 has been streamlined and enhanced. We have social security number and previous name are no longer part of the account. They have been moved to the application. We've removed security questions in favor of multi-factor authenticated verification of email and mobile numbers. And we also have our Spanish language version that will persist in account creation and recovery email and text notifications. And our design is focused mobile first because we know that's how many of our students are accessing our systems. So this is just a kind of a sneak peek into what's coming for create your account. You start with a mobile phone or you can use email. You must have an email address. You may use your mobile phone as your primary. Both of them get verified via a verification code. And our account recovery process is also simplified. We are working to make sure that the instructions are clear, that we have access to the email address that we send recovery instructions to. We've again removed those security questions. We got feedback that they were really difficult to navigate and use for recovery. And we're offering with that additional self-service models for getting help with account recovery. That's the number one item that our help desk does to assist students. And so they will still be there to help, but we want to make sure that they can get their accounts recovered quickly so that we don't have duplicate accounts out there as well. So this is what our account recovery interface looks like. We didn't used to mask the email address. We just told you that we were sending an email to your email address on file. What we know is that many students and they don't have access to the email address they used. It might have been their high school address. They may not remember which one they used. Their parent may have set it up. And so we're letting them know that we're at least giving them some information as to where to look. They still may not have access to that information. If that's the case, they can get sent to support for further assistance and instruction. And we have our pilot is already underway. OpenCCC went into pilot as of May 7th. Our first cycle of user testing was complete as of May 28th. The next phase integrates MyPath into the pilot process to make sure that our account creation is working with the persistence into MyPath, and that will happen in July. And then after that will be the integration with CCC Apply. We have multiple testing cycles coming up during that time. All three, again, combined release set to go in the September-October timeframe. And each phase is contingent upon pilot results and discovery. So we want to make sure that feedback is being incorporated as we go. From the first user testing cycle, we've already got feedback that's being put into play by our developers. And so we're using this as an opportunity to make sure that when we go to production in the fall, that it's a quality production that will be the best interaction for our students. To get ready for the release, we have our release notes available. They are linked here in the deck that will be sent out. We can also put that link in the chat. Within that release notes page are screenshots that you can download to use for local documentation that you may have. You can also watch the page if there are updates, and you can reach out to your CRMs. You can also see our forum that I mentioned earlier, ccctechnology.info, and we will have our usual assortment of release emails. They started in early February, late January for communication and notification to the field, so they will continue as we head towards the release date. We are seeking volunteers for user testing, both student and staff testers. Students are eligible for Amazon incentive cards for participation. We had about a dozen students in our first series of testing for OpenCCC. We continue to recruit and ask for their feedback. It's really great to hear from them, and they give us great ideas and remind us that there are things that we forget that are automatic for us that are not for our students. So that's an important piece. If you have students you work with and you'd like them to participate in user testing, you can contact Rick Snodgrass, our project manager, to get them signed up. You can also email Rick if you're a staff member who would like to participate as well. And that will be for the next two phases of this testing cycle. We are doing multiple rounds, as I mentioned. The commitment is 1 to 2 hours of self-paced testing. There's a script that we ask you to follow and provide feedback on. There's also a kickoff meeting and a wrap-up meeting that are required. And we have multiple options available for each of those so that it can work around schedules. And we have live support for testers during business hours. So if a tester is moving through the process and gets stuck, they can immediately get feedback and get help. So I want to pause right there and get some questions answered. So please, I'm going to check the chat here, make sure that we have those questions answered. Thank you, Beth. MyPath is indeed available with the international and non-credit applications, and they are distinct workflows that can be put in place for both of those applications. So we have seen it work with international, where the link can go to MyPath and then specific documents can be requested via the Amazon Workdocs workflow that Beth showed within MyPath. So for international students, they can fill out the application and then get specific instruction for their requirements as international students. Is a mobile phone number required to create an account? No, it is not. You can select landline as an option for account creation, and that keeps us from sending text messages. We do provide information on how to get a free mobile number, whether that's Google Voice or some of the other options, so that you can receive SMS text messaging. And so that is something we know most students use, but not all students have access to. So we did make sure that you did not have to have a mobile phone number to create an account. What we are seeing as a side note is that some of our fraud applications are coming in without phone numbers associated with them. So we are working on how best to require some things, but not to the detriment of our real students. So that's a continuous conversation we are having. MyPath for non-credit, how do we get started on a pilot site? I'm going to go to the next slide here. You can send an email to our help desk or user support desk, the staff support CCCTC, and that will file a ticket and get you help to get set up with a pilot environment to test from non-credit to MyPath. You can also reach out to your CRM. The general CRM email is there on the screen. And Beth, whose email was in this deck that will be sent out, is available as well, depending on if you've worked with her already on previous MyPath implementations. But typically start with a ticket or a contact with enabling services to make sure that we're coordinating that on our side and that we can help you get set up with a pilot environment for that. Rick put his email address in the chat. Rick's email is for pilot testing, specifically the user testing, and he'll help you get set up with that. That is all the content we have for today. We are about 12:45 now. I want to make sure that anyone else who has questions feels free to ask them. In our last few webinars, we've had some questions that have come up that people were hesitant to ask, but they were easy and our team was here. And so now's your chance to get them using those systems. So what percentage of students in the system are currently using MyPath? We are at 64 colleges. That includes that count includes LACCD and a couple of other large colleges. We haven't run it based on a percentage of students in the system currently using MyPath, but those stats are what we are working to be able to provide to both colleges and the chancellor's office to look at how we're able to support our student base. So we don't have, I don't know the percentage off the top of my head, but that is something, Mauricio, if you'd like to follow up, we can talk about what those numbers are. Can multiple people have the same phone number or does it have to be unique? If the phone number that you're using for an account is your primary identifier, meaning you've selected it over an email address as your primary identifier, then it must be unique. So, which is why we provide the information on how to get a free email address or a free phone number, because it must be unique. So if it is not your primary identifier, then for example, if it's your landline and it's your house's landline and you have siblings in college also, then it does not have to be unique. But as a primary identifier on the account, it does have to be unique. So there are some pieces in there that must be specific to a single account and that we are trying to make sure our references and help text support that for students to navigate. Any other questions from anyone? You're always welcome to reach out via these methods listed on the screen here to get more information. Our teams are ready and willing to help all of you. We know that resources are tight and it's hard to take on new projects and new tools, but we've helped 64 colleges get on board with MyPath, and we have what we call our easy button setup of MyPath. And now we are, as you saw today, we're working on expanding those offerings. And so we don't want to reinvent the wheel. And so reach out and get help. And we're happy to show you our project management tracking for each of the steps required to get on board with a new tool. And our teams are here to help. So please reach out. How do you know if a student has completed a task? It's actually tracked in the back end of MyPath when they click on a task on an advisor card task. When they click through, depending on what the task is, triggers the completion and the check mark within the advisor card. So it depends on the type of task, whether it's visiting a link, whether it's reading, completing something specific, and that's tracked in the back end and can be set. The webinar is being recorded and will be shared. Anyone who's registered will get the link email probably in about a week because of the closed captioning that has to be done. And so that will be sent out to anyone who's registered, and you're free to share that forward. It will also be posted. The link will go to our website, and so it'll be posted there as well. Are we able to control the logic in determining which tiles appear for students? Yes. That is something you can pick. You can pick the order that they appear for different student types based on things that they've provided, information they've provided in CCC Apply. You can also pin a tile. When we, a little over a year ago, as colleges were trying to get information out to students around campus closures for COVID, there were pinned tiles that were put up pretty immediately to make sure that every student was seeing that same information. Beyond that, they can be customized and the order can be determined based on those factors that I mentioned. So all of that is configurable for what you want each type of student to see. And do you submit those changes and your team makes them? It really depends. We have set it up as Beth showed, the interface for getting those tiles set up. Initially, we walk you through getting them all established, and then it depends on the type of advisor task that you're looking to incorporate and whether that's something that you can do locally or whether you need some guidance with because you haven't done it before. That's where Beth and Ramya and our other team members are here to assist with getting that set up. So we don't automatically just say, nope, you're on your own, figured out. We're here to help. And we are available in that regard. Have campuses starting putting up information for return to campus? I believe so. I think that as what I'm seeing is, announcements around how to figure out how your particular courses are being offered, whether, how to interpret the listings in catalogs and schedules and figure out what's coming next. General information, again, in a pinned type of card where they're showing whether everyone is welcome to campus or what date people are allowed to return, if there are requirements to get onto campus, all of those kinds of things. That's all customizable, and colleges have been leveraging it in various ways, starting with the closures and now moving towards the openings. Any other questions from anyone? With that, I thank you all for spending time with us today and look forward to hearing from the team that you're working on new and exciting enhancements to MyPath for the benefit of our students. So we know that we're losing a huge number of students between application and participation in class, and we want to make sure that we are assisting to stem that loss and getting students the information they need, and now supporting them clear through their transition to transfer to other institutions, UCs and CSUs, and that they're graduating and being successful as well in light of the student-centered funding formula. So we're here to help as best we can. If you've got other ideas or questions about how you might leverage MyPath, please let us know. We're always sharing those out and helping those who ask and those who may benefit from it. So thank you all so much for attending today, and we'll get this recording out to you as soon as we can. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye.
New